Hi, I'm Todd Benkert from Hope's Companion. This week is Suicide Prevention Week, and I want to set aside our usual teaching focus to reflect on this important topic. For many people, suicide isn't just an abstract issue. In my own experience in ministry, two of my friends, both fellow pastors, took their own lives, and another attempted suicide. On more than one occasion, I've encountered individuals who were planning to take their own life and needed immediate intervention. One of the pastor friends who died was someone I admired deeply, someone I aspired to be like. On the outside, they looked strong, capable, respected, even joyful. But behind what they presented to others, they were carrying deep wounds that no one around them fully saw. At the funeral of another friend, many of us asked ourselves, why didn't we see it? Couldn't we have done something? There were no good answers. The questions came too late, and the opportunity to intervene had already passed. That's the sobering reality of suicide. The pain is often hidden, even in those who appear to have it all together. Other times, we know someone is hurting, but we don't know the extent of their pain or how we can help. As I reflected on their deaths, I had to admit something difficult. It could have been me. I carry my own trauma. And caring for my mental health has meant facing the reality of trauma and acknowledging my own wounds instead of denying them, learning how to pursue healing. If you recognize your own need, it's okay to seek help from a counselor or a therapist, and I encourage you to do so. And if you or someone you love is struggling with thoughts of suicide, you're not alone. In the U.S., dial 988 for the Suicide Crisis Lifeline. The loss of my friends to suicide was heartbreaking. But it's not isolated. Suicide affects people across all age groups at fairly consistent rates, and it's the second leading cause of death for youth and young adults. On average, approximately 1.5 million Americans attempt suicide every year. Hidden pain is far more common than we realize. Research shows that trauma is one of the strongest risk factors for suicide. Experiences of abuse, neglect, violence, or deep loss can have lasting scars, and sometimes those scars remain hidden, covered up by a polished exterior. That's why trauma-informed care and creating emotionally safe communities is so critical in ministry. While I'm not a suicide prevention expert, research shows that environments of safety, trust, and connection can reduce risk. Trauma-informed care helps create spaces where people don't have to hide their wounds. They can share them and find support. And this is where trauma-informed ministry matters. I often hear leaders say, "This is a safe place." But just saying it doesn't make it so. Safety isn't a declaration, it's a culture. Emotional and psychological safety, even spiritual safety, has to be built intentionally and woven into the DNA of the ministry and the church body through trust, consistency, respect, and compassion. Without that groundwork, inviting people to be vulnerable can actually do harm. Trauma-informed care gives us a framework to create real safety. It helps us understand how trauma affects people, recognize the signs, and respond in ways that foster trust and healing, not more wounding. And so, during this Suicide Prevention Week, I want to remind you, the people around you may be carrying hidden wounds. That's why it's so important to build communities of genuine safety and compassion, where no one has to carry their pain alone. As Christians, we believe Jesus offers hope, healing, and community. Part of following Him is living out the one anotherness of our faith, making sure others know they are not alone. I encourage you to check in on the people around you this week, especially those who may be quietly struggling. If you're in ministry, consider learning more about trauma-informed ministry. It equips you to create spaces of real safety and support. And again, if you or someone you love is struggling with thoughts of suicide, please reach out for help. In the U.S., you can dial 988. Thank you for watching and for joining me in building spaces of hope, healing, and community in Jesus.